The Baltimore Ravens have made the first change to their coaching staff, signing Chuck Pagano to be a senior secondary coach. I think it's a great move. Let's talk about it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media, bringing Ravens content every single day. If you want to see that daily Ravens content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below and hit the notification bell as well if you want to get notified every single time I upload a brand new video. Now, remember, we are on the road to 5,000 subscribers before next season starts. We just hit 4,600, so thank you all so much for the support in the last week. But now, let's jump right into it. If you didn't know, the Baltimore Ravens have hired Chuck Pagano as a secondary assistant coach on the Baltimore Ravens defense. And I think this is a great signing. If you don't know about Chuck Pagano, I'll run through his kind of modern history. But he came to the NFL in 2001 as a coach for the Cleveland Browns, defensive backs or secondary coach, then the Raiders as a defensive backs coach. Then he went to North Carolina and he was their D coordinator, became the Ravens secondary coach with John Harbaugh in 2008. So he joined Harbaugh's staff immediately. Then he became the Ravens defensive coordinator in 2011. Then became the Colts head coach for 5 years in Indianapolis, became the Bears defensive coordinator, and then he retired after 2020, and now he's returned. So obviously, let's talk about the Ravens stint first. Became a Ravens defensive backs coach or secondary coach, in 2008, was there for in that position for 3 years. Obviously, the Ravens defense was very good in that time. They had some pretty good defensive backs. I think this guy named Ed Reed, he played for the Ravens defense. I think he was pretty good. And then he became the defensive coordinator in 2011. And I think the Ravens defense was pretty good that year. I think they had a guy named Terrell Suggs. They had a guy named Ray Lewis. They had a guy named Ed Reed again. And they went to the AFC Championship game. And if you don't remember, they were, I hate to say it, but they were a dropped pass and missed field goal away from making the Super Bowl and playing against the New York Giants, who ended up defeating the New England Patriots in that game. So, like, that season right there, that shows, like, he's been with Harbaugh when the Ravens were good. Like, this isn't bringing someone in from, the bad years after the Super Bowl. No, this is somebody that was with the Ravens defense in some fantastic years, with some great defenses. And Dean Pease ended up taking over for him in 2012. And we all know Dean Pease, or at least Dean Pease was with him in 2011. And Dean Pease, very good defensive coordinator, who's also now back on the staff. So the Ravens are bringing in former coaches of this Ravens defense to help out Zachary Orr, a very young football mind, which I think is very beneficial. The other aspect, moving on to his more prominent role, head coach in the NFL. If you don't know about his Colts stint, he took over as Andrew Luck's rookie coach. And Andrew Luck, I don't know if you know this, but Andrew Luck was very, very good. The team was projected to win, I believe, 5.5 games going into the 2012 season. They won 11. They won their division. And then they played the Ravens in the first round. And the Ravens obviously beat them. But still a very good football team. This continued to happen. They ended up making the playoffs the next year. They won their division. They go out and they beat Andy Reid in the playoffs. They have one of the greatest playoff games of all time. If you haven't watched it, I believe the final score is 45-44. It was an unreal comeback by the Colts, but defeated Andy Reid and ended up losing to the New England Patriots in the divisional round. The next year, they go out and they get to the AFC Championship game, and they do end up losing. If you remember, this was the Deflategate game in the AFC Championship where the Patriots destroyed the Colts, but obviously question marks came. Tom Brady got suspended for 4 games. They weren't going to win that game. The Patriots were a very good team that year, but just wanted to bring that up. So, like, this guy has been around and he's won. He's won at the head coach level, not necessarily Super Bowl, but he's won in the playoffs, and he's won against Andy Reid. And that is something the Baltimore Ravens are struggling to do. John Harbaugh is struggling to do it. And so what he is doing at this point is very smart. And I have to commend him. Yesterday's video was kind of a negative Harbaugh video, but this one, I have to give him props, right? We recognized that when we lost Mike Macdonald, who was a fantastic defensive coordinator, we needed to, continue to build off of what he was doing. So we hire Zachary Orr, promote Zachary Orr from linebackers coach to DC, and he starts off the season and he's struggling a little bit, just like Mike Macdonald struggled early in his career. But while he's struggling, they say, hey, Zachary Orr, why don't we bring in your former defensive coordinator, Dean Pease, to help you out, just as an assistant, assistant defensive coordinator, an advisor, as you will, to help out the defense. And it worked. And not saying it's all Dean Pease saving the defense, players clicked, they shifted some players around, but it's just kind of a soundboard, right? Something to bounce ideas off of, having a guy like Dean Pease in that locker room. Now we're adding Chuck Pagano, another smart football mind that's been around college, that's been around the NFL, that knows how to win, that knows Harbaugh, that knows Roquan Smith. If you didn't know, he was his defensive coordinator in Chicago. So he's familiar with these players, and he's a huge fan of this defense. I saw a clip of him on the Pat McAfee show, because he was Pat McAfee's coach in Indianapolis. He was on the show relatively consistently the last year. And he was talking about this Ravens defense and the monumental change that they made. Like, this was like week 11 or so. So he was like, yeah, the last 3 weeks, this defense has been fantastic. This is a team that can win the Super Bowl with this kind of defense. So he's been a supporter, right? And he wasn't just, horrible in the NFL. He got fired and then, wanted to come back. It's just like Dean Pease. He retired, and John Harbaugh used his connections, which, again, I have to give him props. And he said, hey, would you like to come back to the NFL? We'd love to have you. And I think that's a really smart move by Harbaugh, because you have a kind of a new school, young defensive coordinator, but bringing in old school minds that have shown a lot of success in the NFL is a really smart move by this organization. And I want to give them their props. But that's all I got to say about the Chuck Pagano signing. I think it's a great move. This isn't like league changing, but I think it's a really smart move to get a good coach on a good football team that has experience with already the star linebacker, and he's a secondaries coach with, a young Nate Wiggins, obviously a veteran Marlon Humphrey, a fantastic Kyle Hamilton. Remember, this is defensive coordinator that was in DC for Ed Reed. Now he's getting Kyle Hamilton, and I think defensive back could be a position we draft as well. So, whoever we end up drafting, they're going to learn from Chuck Pagano. They're going to learn from Dean Pease. They're going to learn from Zachary Orr. And all the veterans the Ravens have. So I think it's a great move. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Again, subscribe for more. Road to 5,000 subscribers. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see all of you again tomorrow.